Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Greater Life, Greater Impact. I'm super excited to have you all here. We're still bringing people into the room, so welcome. If you're new to the class, I'm glad that you're here and I hope you come back. So today we have an amazing topic. And as you know, I don't pick these topics usually until the day before or the morning of. And yesterday I was really pondering on asking the Lord, what do you want me to talk about today? Where do we need to go in this class coming up on Tuesday? And I got nothing. Nothing came all day long. Finally, at about 8 o'clock last night, I received an impression and just felt really prompted that a big piece of sovereignty, a big part of developing spiritual sovereignty and autonomy as a human being starts in the heart center. It's all about love. It's all about giving and receiving love, not just from other people, but from the divine and from yourself, your higher self. So, gosh, as I started to gather my thoughts and gather information, I taught a class about this several years ago, back in 2016, on expanding the heart center and opening up the heart center for experiencing greater levels of love. And there's just so much information here. So we may have to break this up into several parts, and I hope that you'll bear with me. So today, the topic for today is balancing the male and female energies inside of us to open our hearts to greater levels of love. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? I want you to just sit here for a minute and think about the greatest amount of love you've ever experienced in your life, whether it was flowing out of you or whether or not you felt it was coming towards you from another human being or from God. So just sit in it for a minute. And as you're doing that, I'm going to introduce myself. We just introduced the topic. Hi, I'm Janet. I'm a quantum healing practitioner and a soul self-restoration coach. And what I do is I help take people to the uncharted waters of who they really are for healing, for transformation, and for spiritual awakening. And that's what I do. I do one-on-one mentoring. So I just really feel like in the case of sovereignty, it is vital that we know how to both give love out and receive love back in. Because as you all know, the giving out part of us is the masculine energy and the receiving in part of us is the divine feminine part of us. And every single one of you has both. You have both attributes flowing in and around and throughout your cells, throughout every single aspect of you is being caked, not caked, but engulfed in both masculine and feminine energies. So if we're going to understand how we can bring balance to these two energies within us, because they're both very different, then we have to understand the principles and the attributes of the heart. So I want to talk about that first. Let's just jump into what is the goal of your heart center? What is the goal of the heart chakra? And many of you guys know that the heart chakra governs laws of love, universal laws of love, empathy, compassion, healing, forgiveness, sympathy, right? All of those. The heart is yearning to find a place where it can land safely in a place of unlimited, non-judgmental, but unselfish love. It's looking for joy and balance and harmony and healing. The heart center is a huge aspect of healing for all of us. In fact, when you think about the areas of the body that the heart governs, it's all encompassing of, this is the thymus area, which governs your immune system. And so when your heart is balanced and open and full, and that life force energy in you is freely flowing in and out, and there's this beautiful exchange of energy, and it's just expanded and open, you'll make less trips to the doctor. You'll have less problems with immune function. You will find that you heal from things a lot quicker when your heart is open and full. Those are two separate things. Open to receiving and full because it received. but also in a place where it can spill out of you. So I want to preface this, like the goal of the heart chakra then is to have those things. You're intuitively, automatically seeking for balance. You're seeking for those high levels, high vibrations of love and compassion and empathy and sympathy and kindness and all of it. And we're trained in this mortal world to seek to love and to be loved. But I would take it a step farther, whatever. I would take it deeper than that and say, I think that the end goal for our heart centers is to be love, not just to be loved and to give and receive love, but to be the embodiment of love. That's the goal. That's what we're looking for. So like in the world teaches, hey, I got to go out and I got to find my person, my one person, because there's only one that can make me feel complete, which I don't think is true, but I got to go out into the world and find my one person that can make me feel good about myself so that I can be in love. But if I'm not in love with somebody, then I have to feel empty and alone and sad. And I have to grieve the loss of my one person. I know a woman who lost her husband 25 years ago and is still grieving the loss of this man. And so if she's still living in that grief and sadness, where's the love? She's shut down her accessibility to love, to an open heart. And, you know, when your heart is not open and it's not, and you're not in that place where you can both give and receive and it's expanded and full and flowy, you're going to suffer needlessly. So that's really where I want to go today. The heart is the energy center that brings balance and harmony to all the other chakras. You think about the lower chakras from the root center to the sacral to the solar plexus. Those three lower energies are very rooting and grounding and stable. They're creative, but it's what roots us to this earth. It's what helps us provide for our basic human needs. But as you come up into the sacral, it's about providing for those needs with passion and in luxury and seeking for the juiciness of life and the joy and the desire, right? And then you come up into the solar plexus and it's all about sovereignty and boundaries and personal power and how you express that out into the world. And so those three lower energies, that is the masculine side of us. It's I got to move forward in life. I've got to engage in this world. I got to get stuff done. It's very logical. It's very grounded. It's all about providing, right? It's all about power. That's the masculine energy inside of you in those lower three chakras or centers. So the masculine energy, where's my handouts? I was going to share with you attributes of masculine energy. So the structure in sacred geometry that correlates most with the masculine side of us is a square. It's got rigid points and it's about structure. You think about all of the amazing structures that have ever been built on this planet. 99% of those were built by men. Maybe not designed, but in a lot of ways designed by men, but the brute force to get that accomplished, to build these incredible structures. We would have none of that on the earth if we did not have masculine energy coursing through our veins. So the masculine energy, that inner nature is about structure. So the square, it's represented by sacred geometry, the square. It's precise. It likes to get from point A to point B in the shortest distance, the shortest amount of time. It's very precise. It's about problem solving. It's about getting stuff done. It's about building. It's about providing for basic human needs. That is masculine energy inside of us. And so when it's out of balance, and it's not in a place of harmony, you're going to see it have outbursts of anger and control and manipulation. It can be volatile if it's out of harmony and out of balance. Okay. It can be, this is an energy inside of us that can also be creative too, because it entails the sacral chakra, which is about sexual energy, creative energy, creation. So it can be creative too, just like feminine energy in us can be. But it is what sends vibration out. It's all about strategy and getting stuff done. Let's move into the upper three chakras, which is the throat, the third eye, and the crown. These energies are all harmonious with feminine energy, the divine feminine inside of us. And they're more etheric, they're more spirit-based, right? They're less grounded. It's less about rigid and more about softer, flowy lines. And so the shape in sacred geometry that represents the divine feminine is a circle, because there's no rigid edges. It's not about precision. It's not about getting from point A to point B. It's about all of the possibilities coming together in one sphere, right? It's very curvy and it's very flowy and it goes with the flow and it sees potential and possibility, which when it's distracted and it's out of balance, it can't get from point A to point B. It's too wishy-washy and flighty and cannot focus on where the hell it's going, because it doesn't know where it's going. It doesn't have a point A to point B. It's just seeing, oh, here's all infinite possibility. And so it's easy for the feminine energy inside of us to get very flighty and wishy-washy and not know where it's going and not be able to make up its mind, and to be very emotional, because all of the, the emotions are governed by the spiritual plane. So emotional, wishy-washy, it can't get to its target destination because it doesn't know what it is. It doesn't know what direction it's actually headed. It can't make up its mind. And so this energy inside of us is what receives. So the divine masculine, or the lower three energies, they're very rooted, grounded, stable. It's about getting things done, moving in a forward motion, but giving out into the world. What am I here to give out into the world? And what am I here to build and do and create? It's about that. And so those are the lower three energies. And as they rise and they come and swirl around in the heart center, and they mix with these spiritual energies that are more feminine and flowy, then we can give and receive. And then we have balance within ourselves. So it's important that we attain that level of balance, because that's really the goal of the heart center, is to look for balance and harmony between the giving and the receiving. And I think, isn't it genius how God put us into the traditional family with a male and a female as co-equals and partners in both giving and receiving, not just to one another, but in and out of the world and the divine. So when those two energies come together, isn't it incredible what we can create? We can receive this divine guidance from up above. We can also initiate that divine guidance and put it into action and create something physical, tangible with it. And by getting stuff done, by the doing. So the masculine is about doing, the feminine is about being. The masculine or the feminine is about infinite potential and possibility. The masculine is about putting that stuff into action and creating something out of it. Here's an example. Men and women will see this a lot in relationship. I do it a lot. Sometimes one time I was at home taking care of the kids, and the faucet in my sink in my kitchen broke down. Actually, before that happened, I was standing in my kitchen doing my dishes, kind of just in a daze, staring off into the distance going, man, it would be nice to remodel my kitchen. I would really love some newness in this kitchen. That would be amazing. I just had the thought, the passing thought. And so I put that thought out there and vocalized it. And I said to God, I would like a new kitchen. That very afternoon, my kitchen water faucet broke down and stopped working. My husband is actually really good with his hands. He knows how to fix things. And so he came home, tried to fix it. It was not fixable. He was like, can't fix this. We're going to have to go buy a new one. So we went to the store. He's like, pick out one that you think would look good with the kitchen. And instead of doing that, I thought, no, I'm going to pick out one that I think will go in my new kitchen. And so I did that. And interestingly enough, through his ability to build and create and get stuff done, we were able to manifest the remodel of our new kitchen. It happened from that moment of the broken faucet. Another example. So I came up with the desire or the thought. He came up with the plan to bring it into physical form. Another time I was standing out in my yard looking at a big clump of dirt that we had piled up in our backyard. Somebody had given us some dirt, and I thought to myself, I would really love to plant something beautiful in this area, in this space. And I spoke it out loud in the form of a prayer. God, please help me manifest something beautiful in this space, because I don't like just looking at the dirt. That afternoon, my husband came home and from work. He has a big semi truck at the time. And he had the back end of this truck was filled with pallets of shrubbery and bushes and flowers and plants and foliage. And I was like, what are you doing? And he said, oh, I stopped by Costco on the way home and they had all of these plants that had just come in. They were on sale. They were super cheap. And I figured we need to put something in that pile of dirt in the backyard. So isn't it interesting how, we were in sync on the same page? I manifested it in spirit. He manifested it in physical form. And when those two energies are in synchronicity inside of you, that's manifestation on steroids. It's beautiful. So I want to talk about the connections between the heart center and all of the other chakras. Just really briefly, we're going to quickly go through this because we don't have time to go into a 4-hour workshop today. I'm probably going to have to break this into chunks, but I just want to cover these things briefly because I think it's really important that we have an understanding of why the heart is so vital to us as human beings living the life that we desire to live. So when there's a connection between the heart and the root, which is at the base of your spine, the root center is all about foundation and safety and stability and security. And when that channel is open between those two, then you have this balance and you start noticing that you have more compassion and empathy, and you're less judgmental in your relationships. You're less cynical in your relationships. The relationships feel rooted and stable and supportive. You both support one another. Okay. When the heart center is connected and that bridge is open to freely flow between the sacral, which is just below your belly button, the sacral chakra and the heart center are in balance. The sacral is about sexuality and creativity and family and your primal desires. It really actually is also about what you desire the most. What do you have passion for? Right? So we often think of passion as being something sexual, and it kind of is because that's your creation center. But passion is what ignites the things in your life that you love, that you want to pursue, that you want to go after. So when that channel is open and that bridge is not obstructed by anything, you notice that you have a more healthy sex drive. You can create better. You can manifest the desires of your heart better. You're more balanced in your intimate connections with family, because that's all about family, right? So there's more balance, there's more love, there's more flow. If it's out of balance, if there's a blockage there, you might notice that your relationships are probably a little codependent and needy. and judgy. And, you know, when there is balance there, it becomes less and less about your relationships, your loving relationships being less about sexual fulfillment and gratification. It becomes more about intimacy. There's a huge difference, right? And very few of us will ever experience true intimacy and true ecstasy in our relationships because we don't know how to open up our hearts. We have too many heart walls. There's too much blocking. We're hiding. We're hiding all of these things about us that we don't want our companion to know about. So we hold it in and we hold back and we don't give out as much as we could, or we don't receive like we should. Okay, so let's talk about heart and solar, which is just below it's right at the area of your sternum to the belly button. This is your power center. It's about sovereignty. It's about personal power. It's about how you present yourself in the world. When you step out into the world, how are you presenting yourself? It's about vitality and personal power and healthy boundaries too. Okay, so if the heart and the solar plexus, your power center, is engaged and there's that bridge there between the two and there's an open flow for the heart to be able to balance that energy, you're going to see a lot of self-love. You're going to see a lot of forgiveness in your life, both towards you and from you. This is, I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. And you're going to do it in a healthy way with healthy boundaries, not needy and codependency-ish and clingy, right? And you're not going to, you'll also find that you don't need anything outside of you to gift you love. You don't need people or material things to make you feel whole. Does that make sense? So let's talk now about the heart center being the bridge to all the three more spirit-based centers, the feminine centers. So when the heart and the throat are connected and that bridge is open and there's a free flow between the two and the heart can bring balance to the throat, then you're going to notice this is about creativity. It's not creativity. It's about communication. It's about speaking your truth, free creative self-expression. You're going to be able to freely, creatively express yourself from a place of love and authenticity. Who doesn't want that? So can you see how vital it is that we have an open heart to perform all of these functions and to help really balance out all of the other centers in ourself? When your heart center is open and flowing and able to balance the throat center, your throat chakra, then you're going to notice that you'll be able to share your truth with others and they'll get you. They'll understand you and you'll understand them, because it's also about listening, the throat center. So what will happen as a result of having this heart space open to being able to balance out your truth center is that you'll be able to then start communicating with others heart to heart, soul to soul, and you'll get each other and it'll feel amazing and open, instead of being critical of one another and judgmental and not understanding one another, because your heart is wide open. It's vital. But often, you know what we do? We shut our hearts down to protect, because we don't want wounding. We don't want somebody coming and stabbing us in the heart. We don't want to feel pain. So we shut that down. And then we find that we can't communicate. And then we don't get people and they don't get us and we feel alone. Okay. So it's vital that we open the heart wide open. Let's talk about the next one, which would be after the throat. We come up into the identity center, which is the third eye, which is all about your identity, but it's about inner vision. It's about how you see yourself and how you think the world sees you. And it's also about this is the place where you see the inner vision so that you can manifest your dreams and desires. You got to see it in vision first. And so it'll manifest quickly when the third eye is connected to the heart. When these two connect, man, you're powerful. You're going to manifest your desires and your dreams and your passions a lot more quickly. Heart and crown. So the crown center is all about your connection to the divine, connection to God. And when that's in a place of balance and harmony, and there's flow between these two places, you're going to see humanity and divinity coming together. How awesome is that, right? You're going to take your loving relationships to the next level because you'll add an element of spirituality to those relationships that maybe you haven't experienced before because the heart has been shut down or closed off from flowing in that way. So again, the heart is here to balance both the female energies and the male energies. And the male-female energies are constantly flowing in and then out from us all the time. And so we don't want that stuff to be blocked because we don't want to block our ability to live our best life and be our highest self and to really enjoy our lives here on the earth. We don't want to be stuck in misery and suffering by shutting down our heart. It literally is, I think an open heart is what every soul craves. We crave it. We want our hearts to be opened. But so then why do we put up these heart walls? And why do we put up the protection mechanisms? So again, heart is about balance. It brings them into harmony. It's about forgiveness. It's about the laws of love being fulfilled within you. This space is the space that allows you to transmute all of the emotional energies that are coming from all the other energy centers within you. It allows the heart center, when you bring it into that heart center, it allows it to be transmuted into love. It allows you to turn every problem in your life into love so that you can be the truest, highest, most beautiful and amazing expression of yourself, which is love. Okay. What else? I feel like there was something about heart. No, okay, throat. So I want to talk a little bit more about throat, and then I'm going to get to you, Toby Lynn. Remind me. I see that you have a comment. The throat. When you can open your heart enough to allow your truth to come out through that loving, authentic place of true authenticity and intimacy and vulnerability and love, and you can speak your truth, then that truth will flow out of you like smoke off a chimney, out of a chimney, because this is the chimney of your soul, your throat, your voice, speaking your truth. And so when you do that, and it's balanced with love and it's able to flow through that love center, and you become a good listener by not just blurting out everything that comes to mind, but sitting in the stillness and listening to people and listening to your inner self before you blurt anything out. When you do that, you become a perfect conduit for wisdom. That's where wisdom comes from, is when knowledge and intellect and thoughts and ideas are able to come through a loving center and be expressed like smoke off a campfire coming out through the mouth. So Toby Lynn, go ahead with your comment or your question. You might have to unmute.
I was thinking, as you were talking, I was thinking about childhood trauma. And as you were talking and looking at the root, sacral, and solar plex chakras and seeing how children, those that have gone through trauma, those are all shut down.
Yeah.
And so when we get to the heart is shut down, which then they have a lot of other problems later on in adulthood. And as I'm looking at this diagram that I drew, I'm seeing that the throat, eye, and crown are all expressions and connection to spirituality. And anyone who's gone through childhood abuse of any kind, that's where they have to go and heal that, because with that, like you said, the heart is the conduit. And I was thinking about how I've hated men for what they've done to me, and how I've hated women for what they've done to me, shunned me, all the different things. And the other day it was interesting, because as I was pondering some things, and it was a hurt that somebody had done in that day, and I went, just a minute, is it worth my time to take offense? Because that will shut down my heart. Or is it worth my time to forgive and see what it is, maybe go home and journal and take and see what triggered me? Because a lot of that heart stuff is triggering.
Yeah.
And then we have to work it out by going through experiences to help us open it up again. So being triggered is a blessing to help us to see what we actually really need to deal with. So I'm really grateful that you have talked about this to me, because it helps me understand more of what childhood abuse does to individuals, and how the chakras are affected by that abuse. And yeah, I think it's really cool, because again, when you said the heart is the conduit for wisdom, that's the only way I've been able to heal, is by getting connected back to my truth, who I am as a child of God. Connect that, even that when I've been angry at men, I didn't even realize that it affected my relationship with my Heavenly Father and my Savior Jesus Christ.
Yes.
So
Because
it's interesting how the
how
lower
you
ones,
judge yourself is also how you will judge God and others. And so if you're judging the divine masculine out in the world, you're also judging it inside of you.
yeah. And it's interesting, because the other day I said to my skin, I am so sorry that you've had to hold this war I've had with me, because it's had to put up with the war that I've had within me, my masculine against my feminine, my adult self to my childhood self. It's very interesting. And as I've learned to open my heart, oh my goodness, life is amazing.
Yes.
And I'm grateful that I've been able to learn that wisdom of the suffering. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Oh, thank you for sharing your wisdom. I really appreciate that. That's perfect segue into what we're going to talk about next, because an open heart, when it's in balance, is ineffable. Like Toby Lynn said, it feels amazing, but that doesn't even come close to expressing how incredible it really does feel to live in the space of having an open heart that is open to both giving and receiving. There aren't words in the human language to describe how good that feels to have an open heart. And when you go around in the world with this giant open heart, you become a magnet to other people. You become attractive. There's nothing more attractive than a human being who has an open, expanded heart that has enough love to flow out and pour out on you, because they are filled with high levels of self-love and godly love. So I see there's a comment here. Hold on. Edith says, if we love our children so much, why are we so critical of them and their decisions sometimes? Because I think there is a lack of self-love. Because oftentimes our children end up being an expression out into the world of ourselves. At least that's what we think, right? We think our children are an expression, and to some degree, they kind of are. When our kids go out into the world and make decisions that don't align with us, we think somehow, oh my gosh, I've lost a part of myself, right? Because we have taught ourselves to identify with our children, to create an identity out of our children as aspects of ourselves. That's why. So if you're critical of yourself and judgmental of yourself, you're probably going to be judgmental of the people closest to you, children, grandchildren, lovers, spouses, you name it. But let's come back to this open heart. Yes, could be fear, she says also. Yeah, it could be fear. Okay. An open heart that is in a place of balance is rooted in love and compassion and kindness. It's flowing. It's freely flowing. It's magnetic. It's attractive. And not just to other people. You'll look at yourself in the mirror and think, man, I am damn good looking. Because you'll think you love yourself so deeply and so profoundly because you know the divinity within you is nothing less than love. And that feels good to identify with that instead of saying, I hate my baggy skin, or I hate my hips, or my la, 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 whatever it is. Okay. Yeah, just that. There aren't too many feelings in the world that are better than the feeling of having an open heart center, being open to love and balanced. So an open heart center allows you to open yourself up to intimacy because it's not afraid to be vulnerable. You got to surrender the best and worst parts of yourself to the person that you're with when you have an open heart. And you will, when your heart is open and balanced, because it feels safe. That those fear walls are gone. But you got to do that inner work to bust that stuff down, to break those walls down. And once those heart walls come down, man, you become a beautiful force to not have to be reckoned with, but just this beautiful force. Karen says, I look at myself and say, oh crap, I look so old. Well, sometimes I say that when I get out of the shower or when I'm not put together or not presentable. It's fine. We are old. Some of us are, and that's okay. We're here to go through life and to experience aging and to overcome that and to overcome what that feels like and what it looks like. It's okay. But your soul does not age. Your soul is timeless, limitless, infinite. Another thing about an open heart, what it does is it brings us to this beautiful center point between the ego and the higher self. It brings balance to those two places so that we can be rooted and stable and grounded in a better place. There's nothing wrong with your ego, but it cannot run the show. It doesn't get to run the show. Neither does the fluffy, etheric part of you either. There has to be balance. And so an open, expanded heart in a place of balance will be the center point between ego and higher self. And that is a delicious place to live your life. It's beautiful. So this is the place in you where love brews. It allowed to flow freely through you, and to have an open heart in a place of balance is also what will instigate the most healing. It's probably one of the most healing centers in the entire body. So if you've got a lot of healing to do, I recommend open up the heart chakra first, open up those bridges that combine the heart with all the other chakras, and do the healing work, do the inner healing work of busting down those walls in the heart first, so that you can live life fully, completely balanced in that openness. The heart in a balanced state, when it's open, will balance male, female energies as well. Like we talked about, it elevates the soul and it heals our very nature. So you think about healing also, like with the physical body, the thymus gland is what is governed by the heart center governs the thymus gland. So when you know that, the thymus gland is all about, what's the word I'm looking for? It's all about your immune system. It governs your immune system. And so when you're balanced in the heart and there's balance in the thymus gland and there's no obstruction and there's no closures and blockages, you're going to spend less time at the doctor's office because you'll have better vitality and better health because your immune function will be optimal. So when that's in a state of flow, it's going to harmonize with all of the other aspects and systems in your body on a spirit level. And everything's created spiritually first before it manifests physically. So the heart center also brings balance to your emotions, your beliefs, your thoughts, your values, your passions, your desires, all those things. What happens is when all of the energies from the different centers come into the heart center and it brings balance and harmony through your higher self, It allows the higher self to then govern where you're going to go with that stuff instead of your ego to constantly be running the show. Your higher self, this is a great connecting point to your higher self, is within the heart, also the base of the spine. And so when the heart is open, there's a lot of forgiveness and harmony and healing and transformation and spiritual awakening and manifestation of your dreams and desires and goals. Life becomes more effortless. You find that life will start, because you become this open magnet to the things you desire, life will start coming to you to meet you where you are. And it will be effortless. You won't have to push your way to life, to your desires through brute force anymore. It'll just come to you. So an open heart is benevolent. It's kind. It's tolerant. It's not judgmental. If you have those things or struggle with those things, then there's a blockage, probably from a trauma or a drama from the pains of your past that needs to be looked at, seen, acknowledged, and then rooted out or transformed into love. Okay? The heart is a place of, when it's open and healed and expanded, it's a place of pure, non-limited love and acceptance. Hold on, let me let somebody in. There we go. You see the higher good in yourself, and you see the higher good in others. You don't judge yourself. You're not mean to yourself. You're not constantly going, oh, I'm such an idiot. Why did I do that? Why did I say it? You're very compassionate and kind and tolerant of yourself first, and then that spills out onto others because you saw it first in you. That's what an open heart does. An open heart allows you to speak about the things that you love and put those things out into the universe from a place of pure and true love. So you see the things in the world that you love, the people, the material things that you love. You speak about those things in a loving way. Oh my gosh, I love that, or I love this, or I love them. Right? You speak openly about what you love, and then you start filling your life with those things, and it comes to you. The desires will rush in to meet you. And that's why that's why the heart is a place of manifestation. Is because it's all about love and what you love and who you love. But it has to start in here first. Because if it doesn't start in here, then there's limited amount of love to send out and spill out. We crave this feeling deeply and profoundly in ourselves the most. When we're in our highest healing state inside of ourselves, and our hearts are opened and expanded, and there's balance and harmony in the heart center, in that love center, and love is flowing freely into us and out of us, and we're in that state of love, that's where we discover what we're here to give, because the heart is about giving and receiving. Every human craves it. That's why every human craves to know. We desire to know deeply, what am I here for? What is my purpose? What am I here to give? What impact can I make here? Well, open up your heart space, your heart center, and you'll figure that out pretty quickly. Okay. I'm trying to think if there's anything else before we go on to the next piece. We're not going to get through all of this. I can clearly see we're going to have to do a 2-part series, but an open heart chakra or heart center invites you to let go of stress and worry and negativity, negative self-talk, but also gossip and speaking unkind and ill of others. When somebody is upset with you, when you're in an open heart space, you quickly and easily recognize it's not even about you. It has nothing to do with you. And so when you're in that balanced place, you don't take it personally. And then when you do that, you don't have to suffer needlessly to go into the energy of, I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, nobody loves me, nobody likes me, they don't approve of me. the I'm not enoughness. I guarantee you, not one of us is going to enter into the kingdom of God carrying around I'm not enoughs. You have to let those go. We all have to let those go. And we have to figure out where they're stored and where they're hidden. And I am going to take you into an exercise today at the end of our time together where we will identify some of that stuff so that you can prep yourself for letting it go. Through the medium of the highest levels of love inside of you, through that medium, when you are open and expanded and you're receiving and giving and sharing, it takes you beyond mortality and into infinity. What does that mean? It takes you into your higher self and helps you to recognize it in others, recognizing the divine in other people so that you can have the relationships with that part of themselves instead of the ego part of somebody. That is so fun and so desirable and so amazing and so ineffable. There's no words to describe how good that feels to have your relationships on that level in the infinite instead of in the mortal plane. Try that. That's what an open heart will allow you to do. Because the heart is the doorway to divine potential. It's a portal to the highest levels of love. And that is godhood. That's godhood. So we shouldn't be afraid to let go of our heart walls. We shouldn't be afraid to let our guard down. We shouldn't be afraid to open our hearts up to love, because that's when we're the most powerful. But you got to cross through the threshold of vulnerability to do it. And that's where we get scared, because we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to get hurt again. And that can be scary. So we have to process through those emotions of fear. And what are some of the other emotions? Like some of the negative emotions that come up in the heart space are guilt, shame, grief, sorrow, deep sadness, anger, hate. Yeah. Envy, a broken heart, bitterness, withholding love. That's how you know you've got some blocks. If you're experiencing some of those feelings, and it may not be your fault that you have it. Maybe you've been through a hard life. You've been through a lot of trauma. You've been through a lot of grief and shame and sorrow and deep sadness. Hard things happened. So we can't put ourselves into a state of blame that we have this, but it should be our greatest desire to heal those things from the pains of the past so that we can step into a greater level of open-heartedness, because that's what we crave. And we don't even realize we're craving it. I've got some comments here, so hold on a second. Megan says, so do you think autoimmune disorders are a manifestation of heart being imbalanced? Heart is out of harmony, fighting the male-female energy? Yes, I absolutely do. And I'm going to show you why, because I'm going to share my screen in just a minute. As soon as I finish telling you all the benefits of opening up your heart center. Who wouldn't want to pursue this path? It can be scary, though, because of the trauma and the drama that we've seen and been through in our lives. And like Toby Lynn said, when you go through something very painful and very difficult, we have a tendency to shut our hearts down because we're so afraid that we don't want to go through that ever again. And that's valid. That's valid. We cannot dismiss that because it's there. But we're here to overcome, and we're here to step in to greater levels of love if we can overcome the fear. So through the medium of an open heart, that's how we access infinity and overcome mortality. What a beautiful gift we have in our hearts. That divine love that is us. Every relationship that you have ever been in that karmically echoes and mirrors something back to you, where it pushes your buttons and it's triggering you and it feels painful. It could be a child parent. It could be a spouse relationship, a mother mother, father, whatever the relationship is. Every relationship you've ever been in that echoes and mirrors back to you some sort of karmic backlash in the form of it's pushing your buttons and it's ticking you off really bad, and that doesn't feel good. Rather than shut your heart down and push that person out of your life, it's good to recognize that you attracted that person into your life for a divine purpose. And that divine purpose is experience and learning. We came here to overcome. We came here to overcome the lower level emotions. We came here to overcome the mortal dimension so that we can ascend and rise into a greater level of the infinite dimension, to have 1 foot in and 1 foot out of the divine, until we get to the point where we can cross over completely into the divine realms of the atonement and be that divine infinite love that we are. Okay. So you're attracting to you the people that you're attracting to you for a good reason, for a divine reason. Again, I want to reiterate that an open heart and a balanced heart, bringing male, female energies together in balance and harmony inside here, opens you up and brings you more wisdom and gives you an eternal perspective as opposed to an egoic perspective where you feel threatened and scared and alone and afraid and hurt. Okay, so it shows you all the lessons in your suffering. And I think that is such a beautiful gift. What a gift that is that we have in our hearts. An open, balanced heart, both in the male and the female energies, allows you to take all of your suffering and turn them into powerful lessons so that you can have meaning and purpose, so that you can take those powerful lessons and give. Usually your greatest sorrows and your greatest challenges are an indicator for what you came into this world to give. There's a reason for me personally, I went through 25 years of autoimmune illness and literally being sick onto my deathbed multiple times during those years and wondering, why am I even here? I don't even know. But still searching and seeking for healing because God knew I was a healer. And so that was my path and my trajectory. And it was hard for 25 stinking years. It's not easy to be sick for a long time. Okay, so, oh yeah, go ahead, Toby Lynn.
One of the things that comes to me is we are all healers of ourselves. Nobody can go in and do that internal work for us.
Yeah.
We have to either seek it out or do it ourselves or somehow ask for it in some way. And whatever we learn here, we take with us to our next level of learning. So if we don't do our work, we're going to have to do it again next time anyways.
Yeah.
So to me, it's like, might as well get busy doing it here because I don't want to be doing this again.
Right. I don't want to do this again. This really sucked. So, but yes, thank you for saying that. I appreciate you bringing that out, because when your heart is open, when you can overcome, when you can go in and do that inner work and heal your own wounds in there, because you're the only one who can, and return yourself, transmute that energy to love, it will propel you into expanded consciousness, which is what we want. We want to ascend. We want to overcome. We want to rise. We want to become like God is. That's the ascended path. So it helps you to see then that you're not a victim to your suffering. You don't have to suffer needlessly, but your suffering is purposeful. And there's a reason for it, and there's learning in it. And once you've overcome that level of sacrifice and suffering, now you step into greater levels of expanded consciousness and wisdom and divine perspective and divine potential too. Okay, so a truly open heart feels like a natural high. It's like living on an endorphin rush all the time. And you may not be in the space of open heart all the time, but you'll have ebbs and flows. You'll be in and out of that space. You'll know what it feels like because you'll have glimpses of it and experiences of it. And so our goal is to have more, to do it more often and for longer periods of time. What else? When your heart is open to love, you step into the oneness. That's expanded consciousness. That is spiritual awakening. That is your soul's true path, your soul's true trajectory. You become everything that your heart desires. You become it, and you recognize that you are it. You are all the love that you think you need or want, right? So we're already at the top of the hour. What do you guys say? Do you want to go another 15 or 20 minutes? Because I feel like there's still more. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you would rather. Okay, I'm getting thumbs up. So, okay. All right, we're going to do it. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to go over into the handout that, where is it? I can't find it. Hold on a second. We're going to go into our handout. Let me think it's right there. That's not it. Clearly. Just a minute. I can't get to it. Hold on. How do I? There we go. Okay. All right. So it's important that we recognize what is shutting our hearts down. What is creating the imbalance? What is stopping this flow of love, male, female energies in the body? So this is where I want to get into the male, female energy and the relationships, because it's usually through relationships that we shut our hearts down. So we're going to go over this fairly quickly. I am going to give you this as the handout, so you can read through this later on your own time. If you go over to Greater Life, Greater Impact on YouTube, that's where this will be posted and the handout will be there. This handout, it's a 16-page handout, for heaven's sakes. So there's no way we can get through all of this, but let's just skim and see what's possible. If you have an imbalance in your heart and you're shut down in both the male and female attributes of yourself, you may have a difficult time giving and receiving love. You might notice that. So you might want to write down in your journals. I'm going to give you a journal prompt. Write down, where am I blocking the flow of love? Am I blocking myself from receiving it, or am I blocking myself from giving it? Do I have a hard time giving love, or do I have a harder time receiving? You may feel grief, sorrow, jealousy, passiveness, and heartache, or have experienced these things in the past, but you didn't properly deal with these feelings. You feel lonely, isolated, and have a difficult time being close to others. You withdraw from others and avoid getting too close. You are not available emotionally to the ones that you love. Perhaps you don't allow them to reach out to you, or you don't reach back to when others extend out to you. You are generally loving and giving. You're a loving and giving person, but you never take anything for yourself. So you kind of have to look at yourself and go, do I have a hard time receiving and letting myself be good enough to receive? Or do I constantly push it away? You give until there's nothing left in you, moms. You give and give and give until you're burnt out and empty, and running on fumes. It's like only breathing out without ever breathing in. This is not healthy, nor is it possible. Many women are taught highly and highly encouraged to always be giving and never receiving, and they become the martyr. So look at that in your own life. Let's journal this out, you guys, together, and see where in your life are you shut down in the heart center. Is it in the feminine energy, the receiving, or is it in the masculine energy, the giving? It has to go both ways. And this is why it's so amazing to be in a male-female relationship, because you're going to learn masculine energy probably from the man, or the one who is most in their masculine. And then the masculine is going to learn the divine feminine from the woman, or the partner in the relationship who is most feminine, right? That's where you're going to learn it, is through one another. So there must be room for nurturing yourself too, so that you offer up the highest part of yourself to those you love instead of a depleted, worn out, leftover crust. You may have unresolved sorrow from death or loss of a loved one or a relationship, or maybe trauma or drama like we talked about. You tend to be overly judgmental with yourself. It might be difficult for you to accept compliments graciously. Maybe you feel as if you're the only one in the relationship who ever gives, and there's never any reciprocation or acknowledgement of what you have given. You crave closeness, but you're unable to commit. Signs of an imbalanced heart energy may be that you feel superior to others, you elevate yourself above others, or you see yourself as less than others. This is pride. You judge and shame other people while refusing to see that you are just as guilty. We judge or shame people because we're judging ourselves, and there's less of love in our side of ourselves. Often you'll be suspicious of others. Perhaps you sabotage others or yourself. Socioeconomic status can really feed this imbalance. So maybe there's religious judgment of other people's opinions as being right or wrong, good or bad. You drive a better car, you have more education, or you subscribe to a better religious faith than others. These are all signs of imbalance, and they come from an unhealthy place. Perhaps you've protected or blocked your heart. Maybe you got wounded, or you put up a solid wall around your heart in order to protect you from pain. It puts you into a defensive mode, and then others will feel shut out from your life. So here are some possible causes of these imbalances that maybe you have recognized in yourself. Hopefully you wrote some of those down. Trauma around loss of love. Maybe a loss of a loved one, a death, an ending of a marriage, rejection, withdrawal of love. Perhaps you felt abandoned. You may have even experienced physical or emotional abuse. Perhaps you had experiences of emotions that tried to find a healthy expression in the lower chakras, but you were taught to swallow or squash those back down. You know, often we find people in this experience where there's been a shutdown of love because you were wounded somehow. And so we turn to addictions. It doesn't matter what the addiction is, but you're looking to fill the void of where you feel a lack of love. And that's what addictions do. You're trying to fill the void of a lack of love. Perhaps you had experiences of emotions that tried to find a healthy expression. Okay, we already said that, sorry. When we hurt, we will cover up and protect our true feelings. When people don't feel loved or safe, they'll shut down in their heart chakra. Also, we've lost touch with natural affection. Culturally, we are closed off. We don't spend much time out in our yards getting to know our neighbors anymore because culturally, what we do is we go to work, we sit in our cars, we go home, we shut the garage door, and we don't get out because we're on our computers and our devices and our TVs. And so we've shut ourselves down communally with one another as social beings. We've been shut down socially. And you know, this handout was written way before COVID ever came into existence. But isn't it interesting how once COVID hit, we really shut ourselves down culturally and communally. We come and go in and out of our homes, already said that. Okay. If there's excessive energy in the heart and there's not enough either bringing it in or letting it out, what will happen is we might enter into codependent relationships where there's unhealthy patterns that display themselves. So if we have a lot of love to give and we project all that love onto our lover, but they're not reciprocating or they're not receiving, or maybe they can't receive it because they're shut down, then we enter into these unhealthy, toxic, codependent, and narcissistic relationships. You take on the problems of other people and then take them to heart. The pains and sufferings of the world affect you deeply to the point where you feel physical weakness. You are overly empathic and you worry too much about how other people feel. You smother your children or your loved ones with affection. You give more than you receive, often neglecting your own needs. This is not healthy, you guys. This pattern becomes out of balance if you can only give and not receive. You fall in love quickly and you trust too readily, and then you're easily hurt. You are a little flighty and airheady. You are forgetful because, again, in the heart center, the energy of the heart center is air. The element is air because that's where the lungs are. And that's what the heart does, is it transfers oxygen and brings it into your blood. You start things easily, but you have a hard time sticking to them and seeing them through to fruition. Your emotional well-being is dependent on the world around you. You absorb the energies of people around you to the point where it makes you sick. You agitate others, and conflicts erupt often when you're around. So these are things to think about if you have an excessive buildup of energy and it's not flowing in the heart. If there's weak energy in the heart, you might feel lonely and isolated, even around friends and family. You have a hard time committing to and sustaining a healthy long-term relationship. You lack sympathy and you're overcritical. You are passive aggressive and you have a hard time giving, especially to yourself. You feel heavy-hearted and tend to be a miser. You feel exploited and misunderstood. You feel injured and wounded, like other people are out to get you, and you are quick to find fault. You may turn to addictions, or you may be angry and bitter. If your heart is shut down, or if you start to shut your heart down because of these traumas and heart walls, if the weakness in the heart continues too long, the heart center will actually shut itself down. People in this situation can be violent and mean and totally out of touch with themselves, others, and God. They lose touch with reality and with who they are. I would add to this because I feel like I shut my heart down a year ago when I had my heart attack. I went through something pretty traumatic, and I didn't get violent. I'm not really a violent person, but I did go into kind of a deep despair, a deep depression, and lost touch with myself. And so shut down my ability to have that flow happen. And that's a dangerous place to let yourself get to. Very dangerous. Heart chakra and relationships. Here we go. This is where it really gets juicy because we're going to talk about male, female energies in here. Oh, hold on. Someone's trying to get in. There we go. Let him in. When your heart chakra is in balance, you give and receive freely. You reject the notion that a loving person only gives and never takes anything for themselves. That's like saying that you should only breathe out and never inhale. We need the flow of both in order to nurture others from our heart. It has to be open to giving and receiving as well. And so nurturing yourself is an excellent way to prepare to give the best part of yourself out into the world. This will ensure that you're not sapped or drained or depleted like a martyr. All for the cause of love, right? We do it all in the name of love. I give my all. I sacrifice everything. I'm laying my life down on the ground for the cause of love, and nobody ever gives it back to me. That's victimhood. That's martyrdom. Okay. I lost my place. Oh, there we go. You have a healthy respect for your own needs and desires, and you take the time to feed that part of you so that you have more to give. You know, what that looks like for me is I love music. I love shopping. So when I want to nurture myself, I'm going to go, and I don't have to spend a lot of money, but sometimes it's nice to just get a little something to make myself feel seen and heard and acknowledged and loved. And I love surrounding myself with things that I love, like music and nature and beauty and healing and all of those things. And so if I'm aware of those things in my external world, I'm going to bring them into my internal world and into my world. And I'm going to surround myself to the best of my ability with things that I love so that I can pour love out onto others from that self-loving place. So left, right energy, male, female energy, when it's in balance, when this is in balance, the masculine and feminine, the flow of energy in the left side of the heart is the feminine. And that allows yourself to receive incoming waves of love from those around you. You're open and receptive and willing to engage in the flow of love. The right side of the heart is the masculine energy, and it's all about sending love out, and it flows freely from you and spills all around you onto the people within your reach. And it doesn't matter who this spills out onto. Again, with an open heart, it's necessary to both give and receive. Healthy relationships are all about give and take. They form powerful partnerships where the two beings are on equal ground. That's what happens when you're in balance. When this equilibrium becomes tipped, pride sets in and love drains out. The male-female relationships are a beautiful opportunity for us all to bring that healthy balance of left-right energy into us. We need it. So if you are more in your divine masculine energy, seek out a divine feminine that can balance and flow with you so that your heart can be more open. We need both the masculine and the feminine to have balance. Male-female balance. So I'm going to first talk about what love is not. When you first fall in love, it feels amazing because something about that person you are attracted to has invited your heart center to open and to feel self-love. We think they have gifted us those feelings when really they were the invitation for us to feel of our own divinity. As the relationship becomes advanced and those feelings of self-love diminish, the person thinks that their partner is to blame. They will either throw the relationship away or turn to feelings of rejection and hate. This is not true love. That is manipulation. Nobody owes you these feelings. That can only be given to you by you. Love is not gifted to you because you are deserving. Love comes to you from a greater source, and it is magnified in you when you see yourself truly. No one owes you these feelings. You owe it to yourself to tap into the source of love and just be that. Here's what love is. Love is true love is when two people learn to satisfy their own feelings of self-love, approval, and self-respect, and then they come together and share that, the best parts of themselves, with their partner. Ecstasy occurs when this relationship of trust develops to the point that both people can completely open up to each other, and there is no boundaries, there's no walls of deceit or protection. There's pure vulnerability and surrender to each other's highest levels of self-love, and that will produce feelings of bliss and ecstasy that not many people in the world will ever earn the right to experience in a committed relationship because they're unwilling to let go of pride and protection, the heart walls. Again, nobody owes you love but you. Go right to the source and get it and be it, embrace it. What or who is your source of love? I want you to think about that. Okay, so here are some, I think, Megan, you brought this up, like, what are some of the possible sicknesses when you shut your heart down and when there's an imbalance? Breathing problems, heavy-heartedness, bronchitis, lung cancer, pain in the ribs, upper back, shoulders, chest, shallow breathing, respiratory congestion, asthma, lung disease, breast cancer, heart problems, recurring pneumonia, chronic upper back pain, high blood pressure, physical heart problems, aches, AIDS, allergies, anemia, arm problems, high or low blood pressure, hardened arteries, asthma, autoimmune disease, upper back pain, blisters, blood disorders, breast problems, anger. Just think of anything in the heart center area. Hunched upper back, fever, inflammation, problems with hands and arms, lupus, lung problems, lymphatic problems, obesity, overeating, pleurisy, pneumonia, shingles, shoulder problem, blah, blah. Skin problems, thymus issues, tuberculosis, tumors, yeast infections. And it could go on, but that's some that can be rooted in a shut down heart or an imbalance in the heart. Here's some remedies. What can you do to bring balance and restore balance to your heart? I actually do recommend working with a coach, doing one-on-one mentoring, because usually when there's heart issues and there's an imbalance in the heart and the heart is shut down, you've got quite a bit of inner work that needs to be done. And it's not going to just take one little class like this where we do a guided meditation. It's probably going to take some really digging down deep into the inner gunk and finding out why it's there, and doing the inner work guided with somebody, because oftentimes you have a hard time getting to it. So that's what I recommend, is work with a coach or a mentor or a healer to help you to find and move emotional mental blockages. There's plenty of coaches and mentors in here. If you come live to these classes, you can reach out to each other in the chat box and have those conversations and ask. Or if you are a healer and you do this work with others, please type into the chat. If you're available, I do this work as well. There's a lot of healers in here. My daughter is also a coach, and she's a darn good one. She does this kind of work as well, helping you to tap into the deeper levels of you.
Janet,
Oh, yes, go ahead. Toby Lynn,
one of
sorry.
the reasons why I've learned it's important that we have a coach when we do this work is because sometimes the grief or the pain is so strong, we fear we're going to lose control. And there has been, when I've worked with people, they felt safe enough to let go of all that pain, and it literally has affected their breathing, their everything. And they like, okay, am I going to die? And it's like, no, because they've held it in for so long. When you work with someone, they can hold that space and keep that center for you, because the heart it's a lot of energy that we've held back or pushed down. So that's one of the reasons why I find it very helpful to go into a coach when you're doing heart work.
Yeah, I agree. I wholeheartedly, no pun intended, I agree with what you just said. So yeah, when we get to the end, I'm going to give you guys some resources for that. But here are some other things that you can do to help support you in opening up your heart. Learn ways to open it up, to remove heart walls, clear and bring this energy center back into balance. Move your consciousness to the heart center. So as problems and questions arise, we can ask the question to ourselves, placing your hand over your heart, what would love do? So let's just try this right now. Take your hand and hover it over your heart, maybe a few inches away. Put another hand over your power center and just ask your heart, what would love do in the specific situation that you're struggling with? When you ask the heart, your higher self will step forward and it will answer. This part of you is already closely connected and aligned with God. So in this way, you're asking God the question. Keep doing that. Just keep receiving. Write down what you receive. The heart will show us the way through our problems. The answers that come in this way will be the best possible outcomes for everybody, because it's coming from love and balance and openness. This part of you is all-encompassing, and it's not self-serving. The answers that come from the heart center come from a pure, unlimited love place. It serves all involved in the best and highest way possible. Love is a powerful force. It fuels all that you do in the world that is good. Energetic healing is a good way to move into a love-based way of being as you clear and release these stored up energies that are blocking you. What happens is you become a more and more true, authentic version of a balanced you. So you come from this place of compassion and forgiveness and love for all around you. Another way to kind of help support you is surround yourself with a community of people that practice these tools. Wow, like come to this class every week. That might be a really good way to help you open and expand your heart. Personal touch, physical touch. Connect with somebody heart to heart. You could get a pet. Animals are unconditional love. They're the epitome of unconditional love, unless you get a cat that's possessed. We had a cat that was literally, I swear that cat had demons because it would just want to sit and scratch your eyes out. But get a pet that's loving. Do that. Be sweet and generous and kind to your own self. Love people, but don't try to make them feel better. Don't try to make them into anything. Don't get too involved in people's lives, trying to fix them. Just love them where they're at. Do random acts of kindness and like acts of service for people in your personal life. Practice small loving gestures to family members or your spouse. Think of ways that you can be more loving. Seek the needs of others and offer up the healing salve of kindness. Practice gratitude. Surround yourself with stuff that you love and people that you love, and pour your love out onto them. There's some really good questions here in the handout. You can get that later. And there's a really good exercise you can do. You can go do that later. I will give you guys this handout. It will be in the replay of the video, and you can feel free to go through it. It's a really great, even if I do have to say so myself, it's a great handout. It teaches you about the root chakra and ways to support it and open it up. Okay, I'm going to do stop sharing now. The reason that this came up for me personally, I feel like a lot of times when we do these classes, it's usually based on what I am trying to work on in me. And right now this year, I'm trying to work on spiritual sovereignty because I don't know that I'm there yet. And right now in my life, I've had some real deep questions that I've been asking the Lord, Lord, what do you need me to do? Where do you need me to go? Why are you asking me to do these things? And as I've asked those questions, I've wanted clarity. I've wanted vision. I've wanted, what's the purpose? What am I doing? What's the next step? Show me, tell me what to do, Lord. And the Lord just keeps saying to me, I'm not going to tell you what to do. The fullness of agency is on you. So I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I will help you get clarity. And this is how you're going to do it. Number 1, stand in charity. Number 2, honor agency, yours and others. And then number 3, be fixed on my glory. So what he told me this week as I've been seeking for answers in my own life for things, challenges and problems, he said, just be present and be love. So you can't be love if your heart is shut down. You have to open and expand that part of yourself. I'm going to open up. We've got 2 minutes. Who has questions or comments or anything that you would like to share as a result of what you've learned today? There's that. I'll give you a minute to think. As you're thinking about questions or comments, I want to extend an invitation for you guys because I feel like there's so much work that we could do on a heart level. We went deep on last week's class. If you didn't get a chance to go do that exercise with Charisse Johnson, go to last week's class on healing a broken heart and go do that healing work for yourself as these things that we brought up today come up for you. Nicole says, is there a really good book out there that teaches about chakras that you like? Yes. Hold on. It is, go Google Sonia Choquette, Choquette, Sonia Choquette, True Balance. Her book, True Balance, is all about balancing the chakras. And a lot of this information that I got back in 2016 came out of her book. So that's a book I would recommend. Thank you, Janet. You are blessing our lives immensely. I pray that you will be blessed with your heart's desires. Thank you, Pammy, or Pam. Will you please share the 3 instructions again? Charity, agent. Okay. Stand in charity, honor agency, and be fixed on God's glory. That's your true intent. Your true heart's desire is to do what is in perfect alignment with God's highest will for you. That's what that means. So agency, honor it, yours and others. Charity, live it, have an open heart. That's how you do it. And then be fixed on the highest will, on the glory of God. So now I'm going to open up an invitation for you guys. I felt to do this as I was preparing for this class this morning going, oh my gosh, there's so much information here. And I have probably 4 hours worth of guided meditations and healing experiences that I could take you through to help you really get down in there. But I don't have the time to take too many people through. My schedule is filling up so fast as a one-on-one mentor. And so it's getting harder and harder to get in to see me. So with that being said, I still want to offer up some of these tools that might benefit you. So I'm going to open up registration. I don't have time to build a website around this, so you're just going to have to reach out to me privately on Facebook, or if you know how to reach me through text or Telegram or wherever else you can find me. You can find all the links. If you go to the replay of this video on YouTube, click the description of the video and click the more button, or the more, that word more that's in bold, and it will give you lots of ways that you can interact with me and tell me what you're looking for, or that you're interested in signing up and registering for this class. I will put the details and the information in my Facebook group, Greater Life, Greater Impact. I will put it on my Facebook profile so that you can find it there. And I will also put it on my Telegram channel. I'm going to be doing this workshop. It will be at least a minimum of a 2-hour workshop. So block out some time. Monday morning, same time, same place as we do these workshops next Monday, this coming Monday. So it will be Monday morning. It'll be all about taking you deeper into this. So this actual replay will be the first portion of the course or the class. And then what we do for 2 hours in that workshop will be hands-on healing. We're going to go deep inside of ourselves. We're going to dig around into the gunk, and we're going to heal some deep stuff. You'll have access to the replay. You will have a link where you can have access to that replay. I'll give that to you guys. Probably just send it to you in the form of like a video, a Google Docs video, where you can just have it and save it to your computer. It will be, I haven't decided yet. It'll be a small nominal amount. I'm not going to charge a lot for this class. It'll either be that, or it'll be a donation-based class only, and you can just donate whatever comes to mind for the class. So if that interests you and you think that would be really helpful for you as you move forward into more heart healing, reach out. So right now, as of now, I don't have a link yet that's up. I'm going to put a link in the description of this video on YouTube, and I'll also put it in my Facebook places that I talked about, where you'll be able to register that way and get access to that class. Because I really feel like I want to offer that to you, but I can't mentor with all of you at the same time. My schedule's too busy. So, all right, you guys, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. I hope this was really informative and helpful. And I hope that you can kind of go back, watch the replay, and journal out some of this stuff. Where are you? It might be the most helpful to journal it out. I'll send you the handout to this class. You can just print that out and highlight and underline the pieces and parts that stood out the most to you. Have a great rest of your day, you guys. Love you so much. Mwah. All right. See you. Bye.